Chances are, everyone has had moments when a decision felt perfectly rational, only to realize later it was far from ideal. We like to believe we think logically, but in reality, our irrationality isn't a random glitch. It's the brain's default operating mode. In a world overflowing with incoming information, always incomplete, always demanding quick action, pure rationality isn't what helps you survive. Evolution favored those who could make fast decisions, even if they weren't always accurate. For most everyday situations, that was good enough. Our ancestors' brains evolved as systems of rapid approximations. They cut corners, fill in missing pieces, discard the irrelevant, and deliver a conclusion before we've even had time to think consciously. The errors don't start at the end of the reasoning process. They begin right at the input stage. It feels like we're taking in the whole picture, but attention grabs only a fragment, often a random one, not the most important. From there, the brain fits ambiguous signals into familiar patterns, expectations, and emotions. Memory isn't a reliable archive either. It's more like a reconstruction engine. Every time we recall something, it gets rewritten, simplified, distorted, or embellished. Then come heuristics, social pressure, authority bias, and mechanisms that protect our self-image. The result is that almost every decision we make is shaped by a long chain of systematic, predictable distortions. Today, let's focus on the very first stage, how information gets into our heads in the first place. We tend to assume that we first receive an objective picture of reality and only then evaluate it. In fact, the opposite is true. The world is too complex, the signals too numerous. The brain simply cannot process everything, so from the very start it filters out anything that doesn't seem worth attention, according to ancient criteria. Everything else gets cut, and we're not even aware those facts exist. This filter isn't tuned to objective importance. It's tuned to what mattered in our evolutionary past: immediate biological needs, threats, and opportunities. Long-term strategy barely registers. A classic example is a 1999 experiment by Daniel Simons and Christopher Shabrey. Participants watched a short video, two teams, one in white shirts, one in black, passing a basketball. The task was simple: count how many times the ball was passed between players in white. About half the participants, fully focused on counting, failed to notice something extraordinary. A person in a gorilla suit calmly walked through the center of the scene, stopped, beat their chest for a few seconds, and walked off. This phenomenon is known as sustained inattentional blindness. The effect is remarkably robust. In another study, people walking across a university campus while talking on their phones were about half as likely to notice a clown riding a unicycle passing right by them. In a different experiment, participants were asked to run 400 meters behind an assistant while counting how many times he touched his head. During the run, a staged fight between three men broke out just a few meters away. In daylight, only 56% noticed it. In low light at night, just 35% did. When the task was made harder, counting touches of the right and left hand separately, the detection rate dropped even further. Even professionals aren't immune. In a real-world 2017 police study, officers stopped drivers who had run a stop sign. As they followed procedure, approaching the car and checking documents, a clearly visible handgun was placed on the dashboard right in front of them. It went unnoticed by 58% of trainees and 33% of experienced officers. Even more striking, when the driver behaved aggressively, the gun wasn't noticed any more often. Their attention was fully consumed by the immediate task. An even more striking demonstration is the famous door study by Simons and Levin. A stranger would approach a pedestrian on the street to ask for directions. Mid-conversation, two people carrying a large door would pass between them, briefly blocking the pedestrian's view. During that moment, the original person was swapped with a different individual, sometimes someone who looked noticeably different. 8 out of 10 participants didn't notice the change. When the replacement was made to look as similar as possible, 11 out of 12 people failed to detect it. Now imagine this isn't about ordinary people. Radiologists specializing in lung cancer were shown CT scans and asked to identify nodules, potential signs of cancer. In one set of images, researchers inserted a picture of a gorilla, 48 times larger than the average nodule, and positioned right next to a pathology. 83% of experienced specialists failed to notice it. In another experiment, both forensic experts and laypeople were shown fingerprints that also contained a hidden gorilla. Experts detected it less often than novices, 10% versus 45%. Why wasn't such an apparently dangerous bug eliminated by evolution? Because it isn't a bug. It's a necessary feature: selective attention. To complete any task, the brain has to ignore everything unrelated to it. That's what allows us to work in a noisy office, read in a cafe, drive a car, or make sense of announcements in an airport. Without the ability to filter out noise, we wouldn't be able to carry out any complex, sustained activity. It's a classic biological trade-off. Focus helps us get things done here and now. But the price is blindness to what's happening right under our nose. This same mechanism is illustrated by an experiment involving shopping coupons. Customers at a convenience store, where they typically spent about $4, were given a coupon. Spend $6 and get $1 off. When the coupon was handed out at the entrance, the average bill rose to $7.50. When the exact same coupon was given deeper inside the store, the average came to just $6.40. Why? At the entrance, attention isn't yet focused, so the coupon acts as an anchor, setting a goal. I need to pick at least $6 worth of items. Deeper in the store, the goal has already formed, and the same offer has less influence. Identical information produced different behavior, depending on when it entered the field of attention and what the brain was focused on at that moment. The key idea to take away from all this is that objectivity is impossible from the very start. We never operate with a complete picture of reality, only with what passes through an ancient attentional filter that is often poorly suited to the modern world. Recognizing this is the first and perhaps most important step toward even attempting to correct the systematic distortions in our thinking. Thank you for listening. If you think this was interesting or useful, hit like and subscribe.